Okay, very simple. We're going to install the ferrule. Nothing really to it. Okay, get the right size ferrule. It should fit on there rather snug. Just push it on. I like to actually just take it and turn it upside down, give it one little tap on the ground. It'll come right down into position. Basically it'll go in position just well enough that now I can put the golf club on top of it and push it right into place. Give it a little tap, put it right down. There it is, ferrule's right in place. So, and I know exactly that distance. I measured that distance to make sure that the shaft is going to fit all the way into the bottom of the hosel. Again, cleaned it all out. That way it ensures that nothing's going to stick. The shaft is prepped. Slide it right into place. Nice, smooth, snug fit. Excellent. Alright, all we've got to do now is mix the epoxy and we can get this baby put together. And tomorrow he'll be ready to hit this thing. I like to use the epoxy from Golfworks. It's Part A and Part B epoxy. Really good epoxy. Never have had a problem with it, ever. Every golf club I've ever done sticks together, no problems at all. So the best thing is again, some people might experiment or find certain epoxies that work better for them, but I've never had a problem with this Golfworks epoxy. Basically, put enough down in here and I'll squeeze it out into the pan. I like to use one of these deep dish pans just so I don't get epoxy all over the place. It can get messy sometimes, but again, mixing the epoxy is pretty easy. You got two parts, Part A, Part B. Get it together, mix it, and let it sit for just maybe a minute or two so that the epoxy can bond, and then this epoxy will go right into the head. You can put it right in the hosel. I like to do both. What I'll do is I'll put it in the hosel and I'll also put it on the shaft. The reason I like to do that is because I want to make sure that the shaft and the hosel, every little bit of it has some epoxy. That way I'm guaranteed that I get a really good bond between the shaft and the head. I don't want to take any chances at all of the epoxy coming loose and a head possibly falling off the golf shaft. Never have had it happen, although I've seen it happen, and don't ever want to take that chance. Alright, so epoxy's mixed. Really easy. I like to use a little spoon here, get some down into the hosel, mix it, stir it all around. Get it down in there really deep down into the head so every part of it's covered. I'd rather have it oozing out and wipe the excess up than not use enough. Doesn't really make any sense not to have enough. Alright, there you go. We'll put some on the shaft, put it together, and we'll be good. Okay, so we've got the epoxy on there, slip the head on. Now we're just going to wipe off the excess epoxy. So once it's in place, tell you what, I'll even give it another tap, make sure it's just down in there. The other thing, when you're looking at a golf shaft now these days, again, golf shafts are, when you buy a good golf shaft, you can expect to get a good golf shaft. You'll see people will talk about spining the golf club. I've heard things about it and it's good, but for the most part, this shaft should activate itself. It should set in a good position and ready to hit, okay? Spining it, yeah, I could see if you wanted to go get somebody's opinion on doing that, but for me, if you find the right golf shaft, you should be able to put it in there and it should work really well. I like to take the label. Now in this case, for him, I'm going to make sure that the front side is nice and clean, so I'm going to put the label on the back side of the club, so I line the label up with the back side of the hosel so that when he sets the golf club into position, he's only going to see nothing but one clear color of paint. He's not going to see lots of different kinds of designs. And a lot of the tour players out there, they'll set their golf clubs and their shafts like that as well. So what I'm going to do to kind of finish this up before we install a grip on it for him is we're just going to use a little bit of thinner, put it on the end of the towel here. I'm just going to clean up around the area here where the hosel and the shaft fit together. So now once I get it in there, I want to try and keep it pretty steady. I don't want to. I've already moved the shaft around a little bit, so I don't want to continue to move it in around in position. And once I get it set, you know, I want the epoxy to start to dry in place. So I'm just going to clean up the area here, make sure that there's no extra epoxy on the hosel, on the ferrule, or the shaft. Make sure it's all nice and clean and nice and smooth. And once I've got that done, I'm just basically going to hold the shaft in the head, and you know, it's got a good clean fit already, so it's not going to move. But I just basically want to sit it upright to let it dry. So I'm just going to sit it here in the workbench like this. Let the shaft sit straight down into the hosel. Let it dry like that overnight. Tomorrow morning we'll come out and we'll put a new grip on it for him. He'll be all set to go.